All right. Hello, stream people.
Yo,
It's about that
Hello?
time. Hello. Oh no, I have stream open. I can hear myself.
yo.
This is miserable. It's about that
Hello?
time. Hello. Oh no, I have stream open. I can hear myself.
Yo.
This is
They're
miserable. Okay,
lagging.
this is way better.
I
All right. Welcome to Parting Shot, episode 3. This is
yo.
our weekly UCL recap show where we talk about just kind of Pokemon League stuff, what happened, what's going on, and give our thoughts about it. So today, we don't have Tim here, so it's me, Trevor, Facade, whatever you call me, and I'm gonna be
Mish.
joined by Harry, aka Demo,
Yo. It's
and
Harry. 2-0. No big deal. Light work.
and our other guest today is gonna be Sam, aka Disco,
Hello? Same
captain
time.
of the Clockwork
I'm here.
Conference, if I recall.
1-1, not 2-0, sadly.
RNG's us be with us on this broadcast. We have another captain here tonight. Let's not forget.
Yeah, we got two of the captains of the conferences here, so we'll probably get some more coming up sometime soon.
You could call me Sane Demo if you want.
Could, but we're not going to. So,
Listen, I just want to say, I think the Harry leaving jokes are all pretty funny. I'll definitely play into those. But, 2 episodes in, Tim's leaving his podcast, so just saying.
Oof. Wait for the flamethrower, Harry.
Okay, I gave it to him last time I was on.
All right, so so far since last time we drafted, and we've had 2 weeks of league, so we've got a bit to talk about today. So starting off, I think we should get into talking about that draft, that grueling 4 hours that Harry likes to complain about.
It was a long time.
I think it was, if it happens, it happens. It takes long sometimes, but let's talk about what came out of the draft. Maybe not about the 4 hours that we were there, but what everything looked like after we came out. So everyone got their team, and some people's teams were really gonna. Obviously, some teams are better than others. They're not all created equal. I hate my camera a lot.
I hate it too.
Harry,
It
you
makes
wanna?
it makes you look more albino.
That actually is it that bright? Because I can turn off a light that's actually kind of hot. So I'd love to turn it
pretty
off
bright,
if it's I can. Oh, yeah.
Much better.
It's gonna be way cooler in here. I'm gonna be happy about that. So Harry, what'd you think about the teams coming out of the draft?
So, before we get into the teams specifically, we can just touch on what a good team is. So we kind of talked about it on the draft episode going into the draft when I was on with you guys,
Mhm.
and we talked mostly about filling roles and really kind of just what your first picks were going to be, which is fine. Um, really, what you want is, in terms of filling roles, you want to have we're talking about hazard removal, which I see a lot of teams don't really have a lot of, and you want to have reliable hazard removal, which means things that aren't gonna come in and just get shit on by the hazards that they're trying to remove. Like heavy duty boots helps with that, but it's still tough on mons like Masquerain or Moltres. If that's going to be your hazard removal, good luck. It's not super reliable. And then other stuff like pivots, special attackers like wall breakers, potential sweepers, stuff like that. So let's look at teams that have really strong role definition, and then also the concept of cores, where really strong cores are Fire, Water, Grass. The other big one is Dragon, Fairy, Steel. These are cores that like all cover each other's weaknesses and strengths really well, and it's pretty easy to just fill out roles around a core. Excuse me, around your core. So we're looking at teams like that. So we all came to sort of a consensus that Chris George had a really strong draft, which is pretty unsurprising. He doesn't exactly have, well, I guess he kind of has like a Fire, Water, Grass core with Charizard, Protean, Greninja, and Vileplume.
Yeah.
But he also has like really defined roles. Like he has a really reliable Defogger and Pivot in Tornadus. He has Setters. That was a role that I forgot to mention in like Greninja, Metagross, Palisand. Even Infernape can set, and he has sweeper potential in Charizard X. So I thought that was probably the strongest draft. I think me and Tim had good drafts too, but Tim overhauled his team now, so we just won't
Tim
really
absolutely
talk about
tweaked
that.
out and decided to get. Does he have the full thing yet? I don't remember.
So he has Koko, Alolan Raichu, which is Koko obviously sets electric terrain, and Alolan Raichu has Surge Surfer, so it doubles speed in electric terrain, and it also has access to, I think it's called Rising Voltage, which is like the electric version of the Expanding Force, psychic move.
140 base power stab with 100% accuracy, not a big deal.
Yeah, not to mention Alolan Raichu also has access to like Nasty Plot, and then it has stab like Psy Shock and access to Focus Blast and stuff. It's probably like a tier 120 Mon in electric terrain, but it's just so bad outside of that it's lower. But I don't know. Is that enough to carry games? I'm not sure.
I mean, we'll see, right? It'll work or it won't.
True.
I don't think he has. Yeah, I think that's all he's got so far.
Well, yeah, he got Clefable too, which is such a disgusting mon in the UCL.
That Pokemon's so gross. Sam, what do you think about Clefable?
Oh, very strong. What, pure fairy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just insane typing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just like just poison steel isn't really like great offensive types anyway, I feel like.
And you think about your steals being really
those a lot.
Not really.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's all true, but a lot of its power just lies in its move pool. It just has crazy support moves, crazy setup moves.
Yeah, it's definitely got that Gen 1 move pool.
And the other thing is its abilities. Magic Guard and Unaware are both insane abilities. So it's just very, very versatile.
Yeah,
you can use it in so many different ways. So
can't prep for just one ability. You have to be ready for both.
Yeah, it can fit really on tough. Like so many different teams. It just like will find a role and not only have a job, but like do really well in it on all kinds of teams. So I don't know. We'll see if he's just tweaking out and just wants to run Raichu every week and try to beat people with a 60. Would not be unheard of for Tim to try to do something like that.
Repeat of Oricorio from last season.
I mean, there are other teams with like different strengths. The top three, like me, Tim, who dismantled his team, and Chris, like we have like kind of balanced teams that are just like all around pretty good. My team is like a little bit slow, but I have a lot of like sweepers that can boost their speed and stuff, so I just have to play a little more smartly to get off my offensive power. But there are other ways that teams can be strong. Like we highlighted one of the people from RNG's Fatboy Pat, who is off to an 0-2 start, but his team is really strong in terms of momentum. And Pat Flynn's, as we just saw in that last battle right before we came online, his team also has a ton of momentum. And momentum is like U-turners, volt switchers, things where you can threaten your opponent and force a swap, and then you get to swap right after into something else that threatens what they just went into. That's called momentum. So
Yeah, and if you watched the match between 74, aka Justin, aka 74, and Pat Flynn, you saw that Pat really got a lot of advantage out of those U-turn and bolt switch moves because, like Harry was saying, every time Justin went to make a swap to try to counter whatever was brought in, he just always brought in something to counter that. So Justin's got in rock, Pat's got in paper, so Justin goes to scissors, but Pat immediately gets a free switch right into rock, and now rock threatens the scissors. So just keep having pressure, keep getting little bits of damage, and get things weak to where you can beat them.
yeah, and outside of those, like it's hard to really gauge weather drafts. Like there's a couple of weather teams in the league, and they pretty much build themselves. But what you look at when you're gauging a weather draft is what you've gotten to support your weather, like, but that can also possibly potentially take advantage of the weather as well. So a good example of the weather team that I think was best constructed was the Hickory Crawdons. They got the Pelipper, they got the Swampert, Kingdra, and but it's the pieces around that really make the team well constructed. You have Scizor, who's obviously 4 times weak to fire, but Rain dampens fire type moves.
I think it's half damage.
So yeah, it's like half damage, and like sure, it's still going to take a lot of damage, but it's just a nice like it's a nice piece that fits in, that resists grass, and does it resist electric too? Does steel resist electric?
No.
Well, it resists grass, which is like a big weakness for like Mega Swampert and a lot of the Swift Swimmers, Omastar, Kabutops. But it's just a nice piece that also takes advantage of rain. And then there's also Toxicroak, which with dry skin, rain heals him, and Heliolisk, the same thing. Plus it gets 100% Thunder, Celebi, obviously weak to fire, Serena, Excelgor, all these things that are just really good in the rain. So I thought that team was probably the most well-constructed weather team. And outside of that one, I would say the Sun team from Will Toms was also pretty well-constructed. I mean, if you're going to run Sun, I'd probably rather have Charizard Y than Torkoal, but Torkoal's pretty good in its own right, and Venusaur's a must. But those are my thoughts on the weather teams. So
yeah, and I think something else that's noteworthy about Will Tom's team is that he has pieces that work outside of the Sun too. So yeah. He has you don't go into that match and just always say, well, yeah, he's got a Sun team. Like I know I'm gonna have to deal with Sun. I'm gonna have to make sure I don't lose to Venusaur. Like he's got a Salamence and a Corviknight Chansey, like that really bulky Corv Chansey core, and then the Salamence Sweeper that can just threaten other ways to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running Sun, you kind of have to have things that work outside the Sun.
But you're telling me Venusaur doesn't win every matchup?
I mean, maybe it could one day.
Sam, were there any teams that jumped out at you?
Any
not really.
Specials?
None in particular, other than the Swampert Scizor thing. I was talking about that all through the draft because that was just insane to me that got through. Because knowing from last season, although I had Mega Scizor, I know how strong just regular Scizor can be, especially in rain when you don't have to, like when you aren't forced to take an item like the Scissorite or whatever. In the rain, you're not forced to take like an Akaberry if you're up against something it's gonna hit you with like a hidden power fire. You can opt for a Life Orb, you can opt for something else, maybe a band, I don't know. Just you're not forced into any specific item when you know you're gonna have rain set up for it. So I think Scizor was really strong on that team.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair point. Another team that I think was pretty well constructed was we got another RNG's a Skull guy in here, Jamie Trainer, who
Agreed.
is off to a solid 2-0 start. I really like his team. It's fun to talk to him about his builds when, like, before he goes into a match. He's got the Mega T-Tar, Jirachi, Breloom, Crobat, Stoutland, which if people don't know, Stoutland is a Sand Rusher. So he's got like that little thing in the back of your mind that's like, oh shit, like, do I have to worry about Stoutland Sand Rush? And then he was able to pick up Keldeo, Quagsire's put in work. And the one thing that he was lacking that I talked to him about was he didn't have a lot of hazard removal, and the hazard removal that he did have was not very reliable, which is what we talked about before. He had Crobat was pretty much his only way to remove hazards, and Crobat's like a very frail mon, very weak to priority, and you kind of want to be running it more offensive most of the time. So he was able to fix that by picking up the Gligar that somebody dropped.
Right. And he,
Yeah, very
I mean, he
good.
did have the Latios for 1 week, but once
Yeah,
again, the
that's
kind
true.
of mon you don't necessarily always want to run defog on.
Yeah,
And,
more
like,
of an yeah.
You can kind of have like the Latios and the Crobat, and like, well, neither one of them like necessarily wants to run defog, but like one of them never has to do it because the other one can just, you figure out which one looks like it wants to run it less, and like if the Latios really doesn't want it that week, you make sure to bring the Crobat. But like something like a Gligar that can always do it is just really nice to have.
Yeah, exactly.
100% agree.
Yeah, so with
It's just so good for just putting defog on and not forcing it onto something like a Latios where you don't necessarily want it.
I think Rapid Spin has been a little underrepresented in the UCL so far. I haven't seen a lot of games where people are using Rapid Spin.
Excuse me.
True.
Like Rapid Spin is nuts now, man. Up the base power, give +1 speed. That's actually insane.
Yeah, that move's actually, like, I'm not gonna say it's strong. It's 50 base power that I don't think, like, really any mons, aside from, like, a Komala, are getting stab on. But yeah, getting speed off of that, and also it has the potential to kill things if you like come in on something that's particularly weak. Like just pick up a kill that was already going to be free and get a speed boost off it. Like, why would I not?
Yeah,
that's what I'm
very
saying.
good.
Like, I think it would be nuts even if it was still 20 base power. It's like you're not doing it for the damage. You get to remove hazards and boost your speed. It's just good.
No, I
If
agree
that was-
completely.
If it did no damage, it would be good.
I took Starmie in the draft, but my first two opponents don't really have hazards to set, so I really haven't been able to use it.
I grabbed Excadrill. I wanted to have that mon.
that
I
thing is
wanted to
really
have
good.
spin, and like Excadrill is such high attack that it can actually do some damage with rapid spin, which is with the base power buff. Like, it can actually hit things, and you can be like, wait, that actually, like, that's not insignificant. That damage was real, and I think that's insane.
Excadrill has always been good outside of Sandstorm. It also has Mold Breaker, which is really good with specifically Earthquake because there's so many levitators around. So I think Excadrill's been slept on outside of Sand teams, and for all those Sand wannabes with T-Tar, Mega T-Tar, Gigalith, whatever, just look right at Trevor. That's the guy that cucked you. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm not gonna complain about not having to play against full power Sand. Doesn't bother me.
It's like no power Sand. The best Sand Rusher in the league right now.
Not even on a Sand team. I don't have it. I don't have a single Sand streamer.
Stoutland. Stoutland is the best. Stoutland is the best Sand Rusher in the UCL right now. Jamie Trainer, killing it.
That thing hits way harder than you would expect. I had to go up against it in the first week, lost to it, 1-0, but I still lost. That thing
got
hits
that nice-
hard.
That nice stab return, Sam, in your
That hit-
nightmares.
like I didn't even calc because I was like, it's not gonna kill me. Like there's no way. And then it just one shot me and I died. And I was like, oh, like I should.
Damn. I guess it's time to start losing.
It's got decent bulk too.
Time to trade for Stoutland.
It's got pretty
it's
decent bulk at 85, 90, 90. Like those are all really, the defenses are like all right. The HP is actually kind of good. HP is not necessarily something people always think about, but a lot of mons have like kind of really close HP stats, kind of around like the, like, unlike frailer mons, like kind of mid 50s to like an 80 range. So having that with decent defense stats actually, combined with its normal typing, not really something people rave about as a crazy defensive type, but only being weak to just fighting, combined with having passable bulk, actually lets it take a surprising number of hits that kind of seem like they should be doing more damage, just because you can't get that super effective boost, and it like actually matters.
Yeah. It's definitely underappreciated in Sand. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, maybe people will start appreciating it more. Jamie's gonna put in some work with it and make people, respect Stoutland a little more.
I think he had it last season as well.
Did he?
Still made use of it. Yeah, I believe so.
All right.
I remember him having it at some point, but
it sounds familiar to me, so you might be right.
I mean, I played him like last week of the season for like the last two, so it's always been a hype match, but I do remember him having Stoutland for at least one of them.
So, talking about these drafts that we think are really strong and have the potential to show up, for other teams that are thinking about maybe wanting to make some improvements, what do we think, like what are the pieces, and like actually really talk about what kinds of what pieces make drafts like these as powerful as they are. Like Harry, you talked about, like you said, having momentum, having breakers, sweepers, defined roles, hazard clear, but like really looking into...
Phasers can be strong too. Phasers, for those who don't know, are mons that learn like Roar, Whirlwind, Haze, Dragon Tail, yeah. The most reliable
Circle
is
Throw.
Circle Throw, sure.
There's
if
one.
anybody wants to pick up Throw out there in free agency.
Sock.
But
I'm ready.
I think the most reliable is Roar because it goes through sub, or does Whirlwind do that too?
I'm not actually sure.
I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, but yeah, Roar
Right.
definitely does go through subs.
But while you're doing that, if we want to look at, we can look at my team because obviously that's the team I'm most familiar with.
Of course.
If we're looking at my team, I have like a nice water, fire, grass core of Mega Gyarados, Victini, and Tangrowth. They cover a lot of each other's weaknesses. Mega Gyarados even covering a couple of Victini's weaknesses, with the dark type being resisting Ghost. And then after
as
that,
well as dark.
as well as dark, right? And then after that, I also at the back end of my draft was able to get like a little bit of a Dragon Fairy Steel core with Dragonite, Rabombi, and Magneton. So once I locked down those two, really it was just about filling roles for me. So I'm looking Gyarados, Victini, Tangrowth, Magneton, Dragonite, Rabombi. There's no hazard removal in there. So what do? I pick up Tentacruel, I pick up Hitmonchan. They're two rapid spinners. Dragonite can run Defog, but he really, really doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And these are just good mons that also cover some typings that I was lacking, like Poison on Tentacruel. I didn't have any poison types. Rabombi gives me my fairy, like I said, but it also gives me access to sticky webs. I picked up a lot of setters outside of those as well. So Rabombi gives me sticky webs. Rhydon I got for my tier 5. He's obviously a Stealth Rock setter. And then really I just picked Linoon G because my team was pretty good against fighting overall, and it gives me some of that momentum that we've been mentioning It has Parting Shot, Rabambi U-Turn, Magneton Volt Switch, Victini U-Turn. So that's kind of the makeup of my draft. I have a pretty good balance between physical, special attackers, mons that can do both even. Just stuff like that is what I think about as I'm going through my draft. What about you, Trev? Let's talk about your team.
Yeah, so going into the draft, I kind of knew that I wanted to get Glalie. Like that was in the back of my. I was planning the whole. Please don't harass our viewers like that. I knew I wanted this Mega Glalie at some point. And as it's a pretty good like just Suicide Spikes lead. Knowing that, I wanted to make sure I picked up at least some degree of Rapid Spin, so that I wasn't just going to be... Because Defog's a good move, but if you're getting things like Spikes, T-Spikes, or Web, where, like, a lot of the... In the case of Web especially, a lot of the times... Because with the 2 Spikes variants, you invest more into your Spikes than your opponent does into clicking rocks one time to put it up.
Yeah, that's exactly why I got the Rapid Spinners.
With webs, a lot of the mons that set webs really don't get to do it multiple times because they're so frail, and they're all bugs, which is a garbage defensive typing. They just get hit by all kinds of things. You'll see like Sash lead Galvantula Rabambi just to put web up and like try to win really fast.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a really good, reliable Rapid Spin so that I wasn't going to have to get rid of my own Spikes. And I went on Showdown and I just looked at who got Rapid Spin and I was like, I hate all of these Pokemon except Excadrill and like maybe Starmie. So I just made sure I got a round 1 Excadrill. Aside from that, I just knew I wanted Zero Aura. So I had Excadrill, Zero Aura. I'm kind of thinking about the Glalie in the back of my mind. So I'm like, all right, what do I pick up from here? I kind of have mostly physically based attackers, like Zero Aura and kind of Glalie can use special moves, but I kind of wanted something special, as well as between Excadrill and Zero Aura, I was compounding a pretty significant ground weakness, so I picked up the potential to use Flygon. I grabbed a Flygon just because it has like decent special attack stat, as well as Levitate to deal with that ground immunity. Having a Dragon is always really nice.
Yep.
And then I will admit, once I got into my later picks, I wasn't able to like dynamically think about my draft as it developed and as mons went off the board. So I kind of just made some like in the moment picks because I don't think you really should, or you don't need to plan like your 60s and your 40s. So I just grabbed some mons, Kludster and Hatchram. They do something maybe.
Yeah, I think the 60s and the 40s are really where you're just looking for niche roles, specific roles.
Exactly.
Yeah, more than anything. That's why I got like Hitmonchan, seemed like a good Rapid Spinner in the late rounds.
Yeah, it's a decent bulky Rapid Spinner, has priority.
Last year
Linoon
when,
just for Parting Shot. Go ahead, Tim.
yeah, last year with Seismitoad being a 60, just picking something up like that.
Yeah, that one's like a
It's
really
always-
good 60.
That should have been in 100 like 2 seasons ago.
It is now.
Yeah,
I'm sad. But
Yeah.
Gastrodon's next, moving up.
I came back around and was like, oh, I don't really have a win condition kind of mon. So I picked up Superior for that, and then from there rounded off my Firewater Grass, if you count Cloyster as a usable Pokemon.
We don't.
With a Rotom Heat, getting a really good Pokemon with Boots now, has Defog, has good suite of utility moves that it gets from being a Ghost type. And it's like just base Rotom form. Rounded out the Fairy Dragon Steel Core, if you count Flygon as a usable dragon, with Gardevoir.
Definitely.
And then just grabbed, Tim was like, hey, Murkrow gets Prankster Haze, that's kind of cool. And I was like, I don't have a phaser, sure, so I put that on.
I like Murkrow. I think Murkrow's really good.
I think it's like, it's not amazing, obviously it is a 40, but for what it does, like it's it's one of the better ones. It has a defined role
fine.
that it actually executes in.
Well, it has Prankster Taunt too, Prankster
Mhm.
Tailwind. These are all like super good support moves. Like I said, in the bottom of the draft, you're looking for super niche role fillers, and that thing has a lot of support moves, and it has Prankster, so it's just good. Like I'm surprised. Well, I guess I'm not surprised, but Volby is another mon like that, and that's in free agency. So if you're looking for something super low tier that just is a nice support to have, because the rest of your team's pretty solid, then I mean, mons like that are perfect.
I actually didn't know about Volby. This mon's kind of neat though. Trick,
Yeah, Volbeat's.
screens, defog.
I think he gets Tailwind too.
It does, yeah. All prankster. Yeah, this one
Yep.
does some stuff. All right, Sam. So let's keep it up. What were you thinking when you drafted your team?
Ooh. My team? Okay.
Oh, God.
All right. So you're talking to
It's a
someone
loaded question.
who never really plans as well as anybody else does.
Okay.
Or I guess as you do. I just kind of go for whatever I feel like, and then I adapt later.
All right.
I mean, in season 9, I went 1-6 with my one win being a forfeit to start the
Hell
season,
yeah.
and then I adapted and went to 10-6 to end the season. Won 10 games in a or 9 games in a row.
All right.
Made playoffs. I think I lost in the first round to Matt Swensel, who killed me with Z Poison on my Rabombi, and then
Are you talking about that acid downpour, Sam?
yeah, and
That
then
acidic down.
and then he final or like he what's the move? Final Gambit or something?
That's the move.
That's it. He did that to my Dragonite and one shot it. And I was just like, all right, well, it's over.
Ignores multi-scale,
Yeah.
baby. Flat
Multi-scale
damage.
can't help you. Multi-scale
Nope.
cannot help you.
So, so my team, I was just like, I wanted Mega Lopunny, but as soon as I heard Alex Grimes was gonna take it,
Alex was very public saying, I will take
Yeah.
this Pokemon pick
So
4, and he sure did.
as
Listen,
soon as
Sam,
he
you
said
had the option to trade with Trevor.
I did, but I was not happy about it, as most people know. I was very adamant in my stance of
You either
thinking
die a
that it
hero
was
or
cheating.
live long enough to become a villain, and you sure died a hero, Sam.
I only quit not
don't
because
think
of
so.
Trevor. I quit because of Tim at first. Because Tim literally didn't give me a reason why I was wrong. He just said you're wrong, and I was like, well, you know what? All right, back
Hold
to my
on,
team.
we have to go back to that hero comment, because Sam, as a Toxapex user, you're obviously a villain. Tell us about Toxapex and why you're such a sick bastard.
I wanted Slowbro. That was the original plan. I wanted Slowbro, Rillaboom, what else? Noivern,
Make a galley,
Mega Gallade, and then one other thing.
Porygon.
Oh, I wanted Fortress as well.
Oh.
That was my original draft plan. I was
Did it feel good to beat the guy that took Slowbro from you?
Yes, extremely good, especially since he could have beaten me easily and messed up.
Ooh.
All right, fair
Um,
enough.
I'm just gonna say, I mean, honestly,
No,
he
say
said
it
that
like
he
it
could have
is.
taken he said he could have taken Assault Vest on Slowbro, and I said, you know what? If he did that, I would have won. It like even harder, I think, in my opinion, because my team was kind of ready for that.
I don't think it was the Assault Vest. I think it was him actually
There's-
taking attack moves on
There's my
Slowbro.
mother.
All right, so then you decided to grab a Toxapex. Wow, did
Yeah.
Slowbro get picked one Mon before?
Before me,
Let's
pretty
see.
much.
Oh, it looks like you
No,
should
it
have
was
been able to
like-
get it. Unless it got traded. Oh, wait, this isn't in
No.
draft order anymore. Never mind.
No, it's not. It got
All
picked.
right, so you got Pex
got-
for a bulky water with regen.
And then Noivern got picked one pick before me. So
Nice.
that was upsetting.
So when
Well,
Fortress
Sam-
you said you wanted got taken, you just grabbed Porygon 2 as like yeah, this is a Mon I know how to use.
Well, I was gonna draft Noivern in that spot, so I love Porygon 2. I know how to use it pretty well. You can run Z conversion if you want. I don't really do that, but I can.
because you're a baby who doesn't like offense, I got it.
It's I've done it before.
You've never run Z conversion, Sam, actually.
Or- yeah, I mean Porygon Z being my.
Well, I'll sympathize
signature
with you,
pick.
Sam, because it's gonna feel great to beat the kid that stole Mega Glalie from me.
I hope it does.
Thank you.
Win or lose, Mon's staying on my team. You can't change that. You could 6-0 me and you still won't have Mingulele. I'm sorry. I'm
It'll
not
still
sorry.
Feel good. It'll still feel good.
But yeah, P2, it's got pretty good coverage moves, so like Shadow Ball, Ice Beam. You could use Tri Attack, but I don't really use it that much. Thunderbolt, Signal Beam if you need it.
Dark
it's got
Pulse.
Yeah. Does it get Dark Pulse? I know it gets Psychic.
Pori
I thought
Z
you knew
gets
how to
Dark
use
Pulse.
this Pokemon, Sam.
Porygon
Well-
Z gets Dark Pulse, so it should. It also gets Psychic, yeah.
The point is, you use those moves just as more of support moves to hit something specific. And usually you run like a status move like Toxic or Thunder Wave, Recover, Eviolite as the item. You're just super bulky. And then Teleport. Teleport's a really good move.
Yeah, Teleport's nuts. A lot of stuff got Teleport. People are sleeping on Teleport, but it's basically a way to turn any Mon that you have, whether it's fast or slow, into a slow pivot, which can be incredibly strong. Tanking the hit and then getting into your sweeper is just super underrated.
I thought it was really funny watching your Porygon teleport and watching it go first in the turn, teleporting at -6 priority because Slowbro's teleporting just that much slower.
Yeah,
that was really funny.
That freaked me out for a moment because I was like, "What is going on?" But yeah, I love that thing. I drafted Pachirisu as my 40 because I was like Super Fang.
Yeah, get out of here. I don't want to hear about Pachirisu.
Bulky,
I don't care about that Pokemon.
Whatever. But I ended up
not that bad.
I ended up picking up Raichu instead because my draft ended up lacking special attackers. I had like 1.5 because like if you count Porygon 2 as a special attacker,
I don't.
My only one was
I don't either.
Starmie through the draft.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one, but yeah, you definitely want more balance on your team in terms of physical and special damage. That's something a lot of people tend to forget about, and they end up like with 1 or 2 special attacking or 1 or 2 like physical threats on their team, and then they just get like walled by a Blissey. It's like, all right, well, I guess I got some work to do.
Yeah, and so I used my free agent move straight off the bat, picked up Nidoqueen. I think is like very strong.
Oh yeah.
Chris has used it like every season.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, sets rocks, hits hard with Sheer Force, Life Orb, Earth Power, Sludge Wave.
So talking about how we picked our drafts, what kinds of moves do you think you could make how would you utilize the free agency and trades in order to patch up your draft if you're not feeling happy about your team and you want to make some changes to it?
Well, we heard what Sam did for his team. He realized that this is important. I saw some people like just coming straight out of the draft using their free agency pickup for this entire split. So it's like you're gonna have to wait a while to make another move, or look for Mons that are getting dropped because you do not have to use a free agent move to pick them up. That's very important. I've stressed in RNGesus Cult to keep your eyes on the free agent page, see what Mons people are dropping, see if any of them fill like things that you need. We saw that where Jamie, for example, was able to pick up Gligar because somebody dropped it. That's really important, is like if you do fuck up and use your free agency and don't fix your team, you have to look for things that other people are dropping. It's your only option, or you're gonna have to wait a long time to fix your team. You might have a really, really trash record, be dragging your conference down. But what I would say is you really don't want to use your free agency right away. You want to play a couple games with your team, see if you like how it feels, see if you like how it plays, and see what your weaknesses really are, because playing against other people is the best way to expose your weaknesses if they're not super apparent to you. I said I liked my draft a lot, but the first 2 games I played this season were against like full ice teams. My team is pretty well equipped to deal with ice types, but not like a full hail team, like 3-4 ice types. it's like, okay, so I haven't gotten to bring Dragonite yet this season. I just got to use Amoonguss, or not Amoonguss, I'm sorry, Tangrowth for the first time because I was expecting JP to bring Greninja, but it's really important to, instead of me saying like, oh, I'm playing against this full ice team, so I can't bring Dragonite, I better just like drop it because it's too weak to ice. Like, obviously, it's just a bad matchup. So I'm still messing around with my team before I decide to do anything in free agency. I know what moves I might have to make, and I have a plan, but I'm holding off for now. I think it's important to wait and see what happens, see what other people are dropping, etc.
Yeah.
And really get a feel for your team before you change a lot of things up.
I think another strategy you can use is paying attention to when the free agent splits are. So they're a little easier to track this season since they just align with the way the schedule is laid out. So if we get to like week 6, like week 5, 6, 7, at that point, if you decide to make a change to your team, you can play with it a little bit and have some time to learn about it, but still, like, if you realize you don't like it, within a very short amount of time, you'll get your free agency move back and be able to change it again in very short proximity to when you changed it last. The risk of this being that if you change your team right at the start of one of the splits, you're going to be stuck with it for the entire split. So you want to really make sure you get it right this time. But if you're not confident in a move that you're going to make, you could try to do something like that. Kind of just play it a little safer, knowing that you also do have to use 2 of your 3. You're only 3, you're already using 2 of them just to get from A to B with a short stop in the middle, basically.
Yeah. I am not, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of that approach. I like what Sam did with his team where he realized he had a weakness. He made a super impactful pickup. Nidoqueen is a big deal. That mon is insane. It can do a bunch of different things, super versatile. And it'll plug a lot of holes for Sam. I think it was a good move. Good job, Sam.
Thanks.
I'll never say that to you again. Never.
I know you won't. I know you won't.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't expecting it that time.
But another move just happened. If we want to look at that, go to free agency here. So you either want to make small moves that have high impact like what Sam did, or you want to make like big team-wide sweeping moves and maybe just like change the entire composition of your team to maybe something you've played before that you're more comfortable with, or just like a totally different style because what you're playing, even if you're winning, maybe it just doesn't feel good to you. So the move that just happened at around 6 o'clock, so just a few hours ago, Luke Harding dropped Mega Venusaur, Volcanion, Ninetales, and Granbull for Mega Diancie, Aegislash, Mantine, and Vanillux. And this is pretty big. If we look at Luke's team, we see that he will have a super potent Fairy Steel Dragon Core with Mega Diancie, Aegislash, and Garchomp.
Oh, wow. Yeah, those are all really good Pokemon. So to build it, to have that kind of core around Pokemon that are good in their own right, that all make each other even better, that's a really powerful,
really, really solid core there. And then you look at it, you're like, okay, Aegislash can be a physical or a special attacker. Mega Diancie is a special attacker. Garchomp can be physical or special technically.
Diancie can go physical if it doesn't need its fairy stab.
Yeah.
Does it run play route?
But if we look at that core, you'll notice that 2/3 of the core is weak to ground. So what does he do? He looks deeper into his team. He looks at, like, he also had, let's not forget, Ninetales. So he's like, okay, I'm stacking up on ground weakness if I make just these 2 moves to get Diancie and Aegislash. And he goes ahead and drops the Ninetales for Mantine, which obviously gives him an immunity to ground, but also a water absorber, which, I mean, Mega Diancie and Garchomp both kind of get hit by water.
Yeah, and the Terrakion he's got as well.
Yeah, and the Terrakion, exactly. So he was really stacking up on ground weakness. So rather than just make those moves where it's like, yeah, this is a really good core, he looked deeper into his team and saw how the moves were going to affect the team you already have, and then make the moves because you only have the one free agent pickup. Make the moves all at the same time because you're allowed to do that, and pick up the Mantine. And then also he got Vanillux, which I actually think is pretty underrated.
I agree.
It's a snow warning Aurora Veil setter that has like decent speed and special attack, and can also like put out a decent amount of damage. Actually, like it actually has crazy stats. Like let me look at these vanilla
Yeah,
stats.
it's got that instant Aurora Veil. It's got never miss blizzards.
Yeah, but even its stats, like
Yeah,
it has
special.
it has 95 attack, 95 special defense, 85 defense, 110 special attack. Sorry, 95 was special defense, but it has 110 special attack. This thing is just a ball of stats in such a low tier, and also giving you instant Aurora Veil. I think he did a great job rebuilding his team, and that's the other type of moves other than Sam's like small impactful move, is make a team-wide sweep, but make sure you're looking at how your pickups affect the rest of your team, and be prepared to make other moves that complement the moves you are already planning on making, all at the same time.
And like you were saying, paying attention to what happens in the free agency so you can make claims. Even though he made more moves and he wasn't able to make a claim on it, he saw that Mega Diancie came off a team, and he saw that it hit the board, and he's like, this is a good Pokemon that I'm interested in, and figured out how to make a move involving it that really benefited his team.
That is a beautifully executed free agent move, just like Sam's, but those are the two extremes, and those are really what you want, is one or the other. Anything in between that is, unless you're doing what Trevor said and waiting till like the end of the free agency period, those are the type of moves you want to be making. You want
I would
really high impact.
Once again, I'd advise like really heavy caution when doing that, because you could just burn 2 free agent moves and still end up with a team you hate and be stuck with it for like 6 weeks. So
yeah, I did that. I think it was the season where I was 1-6, because I dropped my team after maybe 2 weeks, and I picked up a really slow like Trick Room team that I thought would be really funny and kind of decent. I had like Mega Camerupt, and then just a bunch of stuff to support that, and I hated it.
I hate
terrible.
Mega Camerupt outside of doubles. I think it's just trash outside of doubles.
It was so bad every time I brought it, and I just like I waited until the new free agency period, and I just picked up like a whole new team. I think I picked up 8 Pokemon, and I ended up getting stuff like P2 during that time through trades. I think I got Hoopa Unbound. No, that was last season. I don't know. Whatever. I just picked up stuff that was decent.
yeah, and I like that you mentioned the trades, because that's the other way to modify your team. If you look at what Tim did, not exactly like the greatest example of these really solid trades that improve the quality of your team. He kind of tweaked and just sabotaged his team, but he was able to make a chain of trades between multiple different people to all get what he wanted on his team. Because regardless of how good his team is or isn't, he got to where he wanted it to be, and you can just apply that and make sure you don't grab a bunch of questionable Pokemon. Figure out, you can just red paperclip it, figure out, let's say I want Landorus, so talk to the guy who wants Landorus. He says he won't give it to you, but he's interested in Zapdos. Go talk to the guy who wants Zapdos. He's interested in Corviknight. The guy who has Corviknight is willing to trade you for your Clefable. So you do that chain, now you have a Landorus from your Clefable that was a trade that wasn't being accepted.
Yeah, it's like a really shitty quest where like you have to go on like a little shopping list. Me and Tim are the kings of doing this. We talk to everyone in the league, we find out who wants what, We gauge people's interest, and me and Tim like overhaul our teams like twice a season. It's so ridiculous. And another thing is, this is a funny one that I don't know if Tim's done or not, but when I see people using their free agency poorly, I'll target those people if I want something. I'll say, listen, I don't know if you want this Mon, but I want that Mon. And if you want, I'll use my free agency pick to pick up whatever you want. That's another way to get into a trade.
I think the one thing to look out for with the red paperclip thing is you don't want to make a move for something unless you know you have the other trades like lined up. Like everybody wants those Mons 100%. So you just like, if someone's like, I might want Raikou, don't just go and trade for Raikou because the person that said they might want it might not want it.
Yeah, you really want to make sure.
So then you're stuck with a Pokemon that you thought you weren't gonna have.
And listen, for people that have been around the UCL, there are trade Nazis that will not trade with anyone.
Very true.
I have the funniest experience I've ever seen is asking someone, what do you want for this Mon? And they say, I have a weakness to fire. I want a fire resist that's a physical attacker that has potential to sweep. What do I find for them? Barbaracle. Shell Smasher, underrated Shell Smasher that can also set rocks, that can is 4 times resisted to fire.
Times.
I found you the exact Mon that you specified. Will you trade me? The answer is no. Be wary. Be wary of those people. A common question I'll ask is, what would you want for this Mon? And that's a good way to figure out what that person's looking for, and then just run it by them before you go ahead and get it for them, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's also a good way.
You
that's
really
a good
want
way
to
to
check
word it.
with people. You want to be like, before you execute any of your trades, if you're doing like 3 or 4, you check with everybody. Like, we're making sure if I get you Terrakion, you will give me Kyurem in exchange for it. And they're like, yes, I will do that. Yeah, I will admit I'm pretty anti-trade, not because I'm opposed to trading with people. I made a few trades last season, but if I like the way my team is, like, obviously I'm not going to change it, right? And I think after I only made trades last season because what was in free agency was just really not what I was looking for my team.
Yeah.
Because obviously making free agency moves is much easier if you're not opposed to the idea of using your free agency pickup, because you don't have to coordinate with anybody. It just is what it is. And I think after I made those trades, I only made one more change to my team, like right at the very end of the season, because I was happy with the way my team was. And right now I'm pretty happy with the way it is too. So if you're trying to trade with me, you're going to have to make an offer I cannot refuse.
You're gonna have to approach Trevor after week 3 when he's picked up his first loss, when he's feeling a little down on his team. I'm gonna
hands in head. I'm gonna say, how did Harry do it? How do he know? How do you know what I was gonna run, dude? Oh, he was so in my head. You'll offer me like the most absurd trade. You'll say, listen.
How was he ready for explosion on Mega Glalie? I don't know.
How did he know my Glalie was gonna explode? And how did he switch into my Excadrill Rapid Spin? I don't get it. And you're gonna come to me and you're gonna be like, I see you have Excadrill. I'll trade you Blacephalon, and I'll be like, Blacephalon's so good, dude, I'll take it.
Listen, message me first, because at that point in time, I'll be inside Trevor's head.
100%. I won't even charge him rent.
Make the trade.
I won't even charge him.
I think it's also good to say, don't just trade because you think it may be good. You should know what you're going into before you do it.
Mm-hmm. And they're in every conference.
I've made some really, really terrible trades.
Yeah.
Like
Tim forces you.
No, actually, he didn't one time. I traded with Ryan Anzolini. Yeah, the one time I didn't listen to Tim, I think. I don't remember if he had something to do with it, but I traded Ryan Anzolini Heatran and
This was
Raikou,
such fucking trash.
which are two really good Pokemon.
I remember this because it was so fucking bad.
For Thundurus Incarnate, no, Thundurus Therian, and Entei, which are terrible.
Jesus.
Like, not well, but they're very terrible compared to the two that I traded.
I would agree. And I agreed at the time.
I'd also.
Also, I made Ryan's team really good and my team really bad.
On Sam's point, in terms of like knowing that like what you're trading is good for, I know in RNGesus Cult, I've encouraged people to ask me about the moves they're making. Unfortunately for the other conferences, they all have super incompetent leaders. So if you're in Clockwork, like you can ask Trevor or JP. JP's not always available, so probably Trevor. In Ram Ranch, you could probably ask Tim. He might troll you. Who knows? And
no, I think if people really need help, I think Tim will help them. Like,
and in the Kingsman, you can obviously ask Papa George. He might take a while to get back to you, but he's a pretty friendly guy, and he's definitely willing to help. So every conference has people that you can ask. Double check, get a second opinion before you make your moves.
Yeah, and obviously all of us, if you're in our conferences, like your wins and losses affect our wins and losses. So we are very incentivized. Whether or not these people would want to help you to begin with, I mean, people like Tim, George, myself, I know all of us will talk to people about Mons. Like Harry said, Chris doesn't necessarily get back to people like right away all the time, but Tim and myself will like talk tons about Mons to people, just anything. So, but especially now when like your records affect our records, there's that much more incentive to try to help people and really get to a place where they're able to succeed.
Yeah, and like this isn't on the syllabus, but I think this is a great topic. I want to know, like, because I love the conference thing so far. I think it's super creative. I just want to know what you guys were thinking when you introduced this. I really like this format a lot.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, having played in it. The idea going in was, I mean, one, it's fun. We have as we've had through the Peter Finkley articles, there's a storyline because we have teams and we have conflicts instead of, it creates like a more, because storylines before were between like one or two particular people, like maybe a few more than that, but now we have like, it's very clear cut. Like there are 4 separate conferences and all of them want to be the best conference, get that coveted 3-0 record at the end and get 3 free wins onto their records. And it also, Tim talked to me about his MO with conference, or with scheduling, and how scoring is kept and extra things he does, because he thinks one of the most important things to think about is what the end of the season looks like, because inevitably there are going to be people at the end of the season who just don't even have a shot at a playoffs picture. Their record is like 5-17, and they're like, I literally just can't get into playoffs. And for those kinds of people, how do you keep them engaged and playing their matches so that people don't just get like forfeit after forfeit after forfeit all their matches? And what Tim has done in the past is he's had divisional games so that you have a chance to improve your record right at the end. And we think this is a really cool system for it, because it kind of puts like I mean, I don't want people to get peer pressured when they're uncomfortable, but it puts like a bit of a peer pressure aspect on, where the people in your conference who are still in the running want you to do well for their own sake. And hopefully it's a bit more of a positive angle than that. People will encourage you to play your matches, and you'll want to play your matches in order to help those people, as opposed to getting bullied into playing your matches, which is, I mean, it's a UCL, so I wouldn't say it's impossible, but that's not what we're looking for here. as well as just by having these people who are invested in your record, who are forced to be invested in your record because it affects theirs. It forces them to be cooperative with you, and we thought that giving everyone like a team of people who they know want to help them can give them like lots of resources to like do things like talk about free agency moves, or maybe help prep their teams for matches, help them figure out like what specific EV spreads, or maybe this item or this move doesn't really make sense. So
I'm glad to just hear the thought process behind it, because I mean, I can only speak for RNGesus Cult, praise RNGesus. I think it very much encourages like team bonding. Like our RNGesus chat is lit, and it's very positive, and it's very supportive, because that's the way RNGesus wants you to be. But like, I like that you guys put like really strong players in each conference. Like, it's like I said, like there's someone in each conference that you can ask about pretty much anything, because there's strong players in each conference. It feels pretty balanced. I mean, the first week was 2 4-3s. That's pretty good. I mean, that's a good indicator. But yeah, I really love what you guys did. And it's gonna be really good for the newer players, because this cooperativeness and stuff, they're gonna learn a lot, and they're gonna learn very quickly without even necessarily having to reach out that much. Like, people, I go out of my way to ask people like, when's your match? How are you feeling about the sets that you came up with? Let me look at it. I'll tell you what I think. I don't know how it is for like, I mean, you guys are both in Clockwork. Sam, how is it going in your conference chat? We're over here at the Holy Cathedral. What do you got?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, it ended up being a lot more positive than I thought it was gonna be, because, like, of course, like, I came into our conference chat, first thing I said was, I'm top 4, by the way. And I was, like, joking around, and then people were, like, asking questions about the matches and stuff, and I was like, wow, this is, like, pretty wholesome, and, like, people are actually talking about Pokemon and having a good time.
Sam is a top 4 player, by the way.
And then I lost my first match, and I was like, wow, these people are being really nice. And I was like, all right, well, now I gotta actually pay attention and win some games for them, because they want to win. They want to do well.
Sam really is a top 4 player.
And Brady is in my conference. I have to be nice to Brady. This is very hard for me.
Well, it's hard for them too, because they have to be nice to you.
I know. Brady's never nice to me.
Hold on, I have to go back and see what the first thing I said to open the chat was.
I think the first thing I said was, I said, by the way, guys, I lied. Sam is actually a top 4 player. I lied about him not being top 4. I knew it would be so inconceivable for anyone to believe he wasn't top 4, so I knew he would get it was a joke, right? Because obviously Sam is top 4. If you think he's not top 4, like, it's just no one would really believe that.
Hey, I mean, I did make semifinals. That is top 4.
That's literally top 4, indisputable. It's like saying the Earth is flat. Like, the Earth is round. Sam is top 4. It's fact.
True.
All right. It was
First thing I said was, please move Brady out.
That sounds about right.
First thing I said is, like, if anyone needs help prepping their teams, I can look at your matchup when I get to my second job. But there are some bangers in here, like, the church is privy to a wealth of behind-the-scenes knowledge and holds a lot of influence. We understand that you may be receiving outside help preparing for your matches, but we urge you not to hesitate to ask for our assistance as well. Prayer emoji.
That's pretty. That seems like the best conference right now. But
it's a lot of holy talk. What do you think about the strength of the conferences? I like my conference a lot. I think we have a good mix of like players who I already knew were pretty good, and players that are like up and coming, that have the potential to be really good, with the assistance of myself and the rest of the team.
So no, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like it's pretty balanced. I mean, I looked at our conference, and I, like, at first glance, I was like, I don't know who these people are and if they're even that good. But I mean, we lost 4-3 in terms of conferences, in the first week, but like there was 2 1-0s. I lost 1-0. Brady lost 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
But we won. We had like a 5-0. I mean, it was pretty much. It was even. There was a 2-0 on each side, a 1-0. There's a 5-0
Yeah, it was
on
4-3.
each
Both
side.
both
Yeah.
matchups were 4-3.
I mean, even the differentials were pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, and then the like Brady lost 1-0 again, so he's 0-2, but he's like
Yeah, only
not
-2
that
differential.
bad.
Like, it's not like he's getting stomped out.
Yeah, I mean, like people were doing a lot better than I thought they would, and it's really surprising.
Yeah, I mean Brady only being -2, like that's a lot better than I thought he would do.
And he's running Cynthia's team.
I know, it's funny. But
It's actually sick.
when I saw my team, I saw like Luke Harding, okay. He's not going to talk much, but I know Luke is good. I know I don't really have to help him set up his team. I helped him a little bit with like his big transition today. Wow, that sounded bad, but his team transition today. And then Ant Torres is someone I know who knows what I know he knows what he's doing, but he's kind of a troll, and he's 0-2. So like the church is not at full power because Anthony is probably one of our better players, and he's been losing. Trevor and Jamie, I know they have potential if I guide them. And then I didn't know a lot about Christian or Pat, so I'm working with them. Christian's been doing well. Pat fucked up his sets against Sam, so.
Yeah, I have a lot of. No, actually, go ahead.
What?
You sounded like you were gonna. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, the guys that I wasn't sure were like Christian and Pat, and like they've responded well to my help. It was just unfortunate what happened to Pat. I think he'll have better showings in the future. He's very receptive to like advice and stuff. So
Yeah, I started like it sounded like you were done, so I got like halfway into a sentence, and then I realized you weren't done, and I was like, wait, actually, you can just finish. No, but yeah, I think I'm very optimistic about our conference. I think we do have very strong players. I don't mean to be arrogant here, but I think I'm quite good at this game. I think JP is pretty good. I have a ton of respect for JP as a player after playing him a single time last season, and
he's really good.
I will go on record saying that my match against JP is the only match I felt like I lost it, and I just said, yeah, I deserved to lose here. Every other game I lost, it felt kind of sour because I felt like I didn't get outplayed by my opponent. I got outplayed by myself. But my matchup against JP, I was like, yeah, he played the game better than me, which is true of all my losses. But I was like, I played my best game, and his best game was just better. So I have a lot of respect for him as a player. I think Sam and Brady, they definitely know what they're doing in the game. They're not unfamiliar with. They both made playoffs last season, so I'm hoping that both of you two can keep that up. And I know Eric was really close to playoffs last season, and I try to talk to him sometimes, like I definitely think Eric does not always. I think his biggest weakness as a player is he just doesn't play it his 100% all the time. And I think if he was always playing his best game, he would definitely look like a better player. I think he just gets in his head too much, and it just costs him sometimes even before the match starts. He's like already lost the mental war. But I think when he plays his game, he's not someone to take lightly. And then our other guys, Will Whitehead and Mike Fall, I don't know either of them particularly well, but I'm hopeful that both of them really show up. Mike took a game off of, or almost took a game off of you, Harry.
Yeah, it was a rough game.
Yeah, it was, but I'm optimistic about him because he was able to take you to 1-0, and you're a pretty good player, so I'm hopeful that when he plays like not quite those top echelon players, that he'll be able to come out with some pretty good results.
Yeah,
And
that was one of my rough matchups. I had 3 40 tier mons in that game because I couldn't bring my Dragonite or my Tangrowth.
yeah, and Will just he has that rain team we were talking about, so I'm hoping that team just comes online and puts in the work it's supposed to do. I looked at it,
Hey,
I
I
talked
mean-
to him a little bit about it, and
Yeah, you need to talk to him a little more because that Pelipper keeps getting dropped on turn 1 against RNGesus.
I
That
think
Pelipper keeps getting dropped on turn 1 against RNGesus.
I agree with what you said, that it's a pretty well constructed rain team. I think it definitely covers what rain has troubles with, and it has that ability to deal with its own weaknesses and open up for that kind of Swampert and that Kingdra that he wants to win games with.
Yeah, I mean, you need rain for more than one turn, though. RNGesus is going to take your life every time.
I
Yeah,
don't
maybe
think
we'll
it's.
talk about that. Have a little bit of a conversation.
No, let him go. Let him go. Next split.
All right, so thinking about again, kind of a combination, team patching, kind of identifying some ideas for team patching, as well as thinking about what happened in the draft. Are there mons that are currently on the board available in the free agency that we're surprised to see there? Because there are some powerful mons still available in the free agency.
Well,
Saurus.
Sam, do you want to start this one? Go ahead, buddy.
Haxorus. That
Really?
thing is left up. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about it.
I don't know. Pure Dragon. It's got really good physical coverage.
And a really high
Think-
stat to use it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not the greatest abilities, but it's got 97 speed, 147 base attack. Good defensive stat at 90. Special defense isn't terrible, but gets Swords Dance, Outrage. I think it's a great mon for 120, but it's usually taken, but left up.
Yeah, it also got a bit of a buff in that it has Dragon Dance, which is obviously an amazing setup move, but now it also has Scale Shot from the DLC, which is basically like a Dragon Bullet Seed that also boosts your speed one time, but drops your defense one time, which makes it a little more priority weak. But as a trade-off, like obviously makes it faster. So what you can do now instead of Dragon Dancing is you can SD and have that immediate power and threaten things. And like if there's some kind of Pokemon that doesn't want to get hit by like a +2, I don't know, like a +2 close combat from Haxorus, and it switches out, you can just Scale Shot to boost your speed, and now you're +2 attack, +1 speed, and just start trying to rip through the team.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't know a lot about the new moves. Like, I'm still figuring out mons that have flip turn. Like, I'm just figuring out about like rising voltage, stuff like that, because I've been away. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that was a thing. In terms of mons that I was shocked were still on the board up until today, Aegislash, like this thing's crazy. Can be run bulky, can be run special attacking, physical attacking, really good typing in Steel Ghost, like, and obviously it was an Uber for a long time. Like, this thing is so good. I was shocked that it didn't come off the board.
I agree. And Ghost Stab is really good. Like, Ghost has 2 types that resist it, one being Dark Resist and one just being the normal immunity like we've talked about before. So just a lot of ability to hit neutrally and inflict good damage. It gets Sword Stance to set up on the physical side, and on the special side it has just strong moves, Shadow Ball, Flash Cannon, and now Steel Beam, base 140 power stab move off of a 140 special attack stat.
And King Shield is just the best protect move in the game, right?
Yeah, a little less good this gen because it only drops attack 1 stage instead of 2, but still a really powerful. I mean, it's protect with an upside, and it's probably the best upside on an attack.
Yeah, because most of them
move. So, like, I don't know what you want me to say.
Other than maybe Baneful Bunker, you could argue. but it also helps it change its form, which is a big deal. So
Yeah, just always have the right stats. Thunderous Incarnate is on the board, and if I recall, like that Pokemon hasn't been dropped from any teams. Like it's just been there.
Yeah, it's just been there.
Fast Electrics are really good. That one's base 111 speed, which base 110 is a really huge benchmark that a lot of Pokemon hit. So being 1 point faster than that lets you have like just that 1 extra point of speed or 2 extra points of speed to outspeed a lot of relevant Pokemon. Has Nasty Plot for setup. Prankster is an amazing ability. It gets a really good suite of moves to utilize it. Gets Taunt, Thunder Wave. Swagger's not nearly as good anymore.
That sucks.
But, you know, usable if you really want. Gets Knockoff for utility. Has Volt Turn and or Volt Switch and U-Turn. So you can have that stronger Volt Switch, or if you're afraid of ground types, U-Turn, so good momentum on a fast Pokemon. Usable attack stat to attack with it, and it gets Defiant if you want to try to run that at some point. Try to abuse a Defog and turn it into a Sweeper. And it's on the board, so if you're hurting for a good electric.
It is not my favorite, but you make a good case for it. Definitely raised my eyebrows. I have never really thought particularly highly of the Thunderouses, either of them. I think like Tornadus Incarnate is really good. It's only 100 tiers, so that's why I like that one, as opposed to Thunderous, which is obviously 180. But yeah, you make a good case for Thunderous Eye. One that I'm looking at here is Caparaja. This is a mon that I looked at like pretty extensively in my draft prep as like it's probably the best like utilizer of the ability Heavy Metal that has ever been created, because it has access to Stab, Heavy Slam, and then also Heat Crash. And I don't know if any Pokemon that have Heavy Metal have ever had access to both of those.
I feel like probably not.
No.
Yeah, I think it's the first one. It's also a setter. It has super high attack and defense, physical defense, I believe.
Yeah.
It was definitely something I considered pretty heavily, and I thought that more people would be willing to like test it out because it's like one of the newer mons, you know. Has really high HP and attack.
I think the lower defenses just scare people a little more.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm sleeping on that Pokemon because I just kind of don't really know what it does.
I mean, honestly, I think for the most part, you just slap on a nice Assault Vest.
Yeah.
Invest in attack and Spadef, and just fucking slam and crash everything that sits in front of you after you get your Stealth Rocks up.
I don't know. Maybe it is a good Pokemon. I haven't seen much from it before, aside from performance on a Trick Room team, which, like, anything slow with high power is going to look good on Trick Room, basically.
Yeah. And what about the Indeedis? What do we think about those?
I was just looking at them.
I was going to mention that as well.
Yeah, no Psychic Spam this year? Like, Mega Alakazam gets banned and then Psychic Spam is dead, or what?
We have
like base Alakazam wasn't even picked up until after the draft.
Expanding Force is a big deal. I know where you were going with that, Trev.
That move's crazy. 120 base power, no drawbacks, aside from being weakened outside Psychic terrain, but like, even outside the terrain, it's base 80. Like, that's a Psyshock.
Yeah,
people
really
run
good.
That move all the time.
Psychic Normal is not that bad of a typing. It's neutral to fighting. It is immune to Ghost, which Psychic is usually weak to. I think they're a little bit slept on. I think to really shine, you have to have another really good Psychic type to abuse the Psychic terrain.
I agree.
And maybe like a pretty fast team overall, because that also takes advantage of Psychic terrain eliminating priority from the equation.
I don't really know too much about in singles, but I know in doubles this Pokemon's really good because with Expanding Force, like it does actual like damage while being a semi-bulky Pokemon, just because the base power of the move is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are mons
had
that
it-
I'm surprised they're still up.
I had it at the beginning of last season. I ended up dropping it, but I forget. But it was it's pretty good. And with expanding force, it's just a lot better.
Let's talk about a mon that we were surprised to not see on the free agent board. Zarude. It's there now. I had to have a talk with my conference member about why he should drop the fuck out of it. Hopefully no one picks it up.
Or no one in your conference, as far as you're concerned.
It's quite terrible.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't know. When I saw it get drafted, I didn't really know what Anthony's deal was about being in the league, what he was here for, so I kind of just figured he was just here for fun, grabbing the cool new Pokemon and just using things he enjoyed. And yeah, if anyone's like, your conference might not love you for it, but if you're not here for, you know, trying to win the whole thing, make it to finals and clear up, it's a Pokemon. Listen, it sure is.
When I saw one of my strongest players get his second loss against, like, I don't think he was playing the top of your conference. I just messaged him in the group. I was like, listen, you probably don't want to hear this. Zarude is like a 60 tier mon. It has to go. And he was like, yeah, this thing fucking sucks.
He played me and JP back to back.
All right, well.
Still.
Even if that was not the case, I would expect him to like do much better now that he's swapped up his team. He was just bringing Zarude. That mon's just a fucking dead slot in the 120s. Like, we're gonna have to drop that thing down next season.
Maybe. We were a little worried trying to put it any lower than that because it might have just had that power, but certainly a conversation for 100.
Yeah, I mean, we could also just move Shiftry up to the 120s.
Make it look better by comparison.
Yeah, it is better. Shiftry can be physical or special.
You're right. I'm kind of surprised to see Torrent Greninja on 120. It's not the crazy powerhouse that either the other Greninja forms are, but I still think it's a pretty good Pokemon. I don't think it fits every team. Let me preface by saying that. If you're looking for a fast water type, I don't think Greninja is necessarily a fit for you. Or like a good offensive water.
I mean, you would probably take Inteleon over it, and I don't think Inteleon's very good either.
I mean, the biggest appeal of Greninja...
Out of what's left.
Yeah, the biggest appeal is that when you put on that pressure, you can just get spikes. So, if you have the kind of team that is that offensive build that wants to be abusing spikes like that, like, Greninja's a really good way to do that without having to use some kind of momentum drain like a Ferrothorn or a Fortress to get your spikes up for you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Alright, so...
I would say Hippowdon if somebody didn't draft Excadrill away from all the Sandstormers.
Last thing I was going to say was I was surprised Klefki was still up. Because
not a fan.
I love that thing.
Pick
also
it up.
Not a fan, but
I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good at it sets spikes, it thunder waves, prankster.
I think I agree. It does all those things. I don't think that makes it
foul play
a top tier 120. I really don't.
No, I just think it's good.
Give me Murkrow. Give me Murkrow all day.
But that's just me. I know.
It does get prankster defog.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it has no recovery, so it really doesn't wall things as much as you want it to. Its defenses are kind of mid.
That's why I definitely saved it for last, just as a thing that I like.
Yeah, so any other, like, real standout Pokemon you see on the board here? Gigalith's there too, but, like, same deal with Hippowdon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away any strats.
You're right, you're
I'm looking at. I don't want to give away too much, but
don't leak the docs.
but I like Hitmonlee. It's the most offensive of the Hitmons. You can run some like really cool, fun sets with it, like indoor, and like some berries that boost its stats, and then give it unburden bonus. Like that mon's pretty cool.
I mean, I could name off
Sceptile's another nice
hundreds.
unburden mon down there. I don't know why Stunfist G is above 40 tier, but Verizian's a crazy mon down in 60 tier. 60 tier. Golbat's usually off the board at this point. It's a good like low tier defogger that can put in a lot of work defensively for your team. Just mons like that.
Yeah, I think Alamomola and Umbreon kind of doing similar things are pretty nice bulky mons. Sam, were you gonna talk about one of these?
I was gonna say there's a couple 100s that I'm surprised didn't go. I was gonna name off Alomomola, Donphan.
Don't say that. I do not want a Lomomola in any league that I'm in.
I'm just saying I'm surprised it didn't go. I'm not saying I want it or anybody should take it. I'm just saying I'm surprised it didn't go.
I mean,
being an Alomomola player is akin to being a Toxapex player.
Yeah, there's two sides of the coin. On the one side, it's pretty bulky.
True.
It'll put in some work. On the other hand, you're the scum of the earth if you take this Pokemon, unless you're in my conference, in which case, please do well, and I love you. Zoroark's on the board. That's a Pokemon I think should stay on the board, personally. I don't think that Pokemon's particularly good.
Thank God Brady is running Cynthia.
But I did not want it.
Come on, Brady, you're in Clockwork. Pick up that Zoroark for your team.
I was also going to say Donphan and Heracross.
Yeah, I like Heracross. Heracross is pretty underrated.
Yeah, I had it one season, but it missed every Stone Edge, so...
I also think Primarina. I think Primarina is a very good 100 tier Pokemon.
I was trying to hide that one, man. Primarina's the best mon in that tier. I think it's one of the best wall breakers left. Like, we can talk about Toxtricity. Like, I think it's better than some of the 120s. I love Primarina.
You should have downplayed it. Like, no, Primarina's garbage. Don't take that Pokemon.
Fuck it. Primarina, it's got the premium fairy typing. It's probably the best fairy left. It's a special wall breaker that has naturally high special defense. And it now has access to flip turn. And because it's such a prominent choice specs user, that's sort of a big deal because it lets you spam flip turn if you don't have favorable matchups or if you're expecting swaps into something that is going to really wall you.
It's got a nice slow flip turn as well.
Yeah, a nice slow flip turn, exactly. But don't pick it up, it sucks.
Alright, well, maybe we don't leak any more of the special strats left on the board.
Please.
So, moving along to the end here, let's give a flamethrower. Hope you guys thought about who you want to flamethrower this week. Because I didn't, so if someone else could go first, I'd really appreciate that.
I'll go.
The floor is yours, Sam.
I'm gonna give a little bit of negative reinforcement. Brady, do better. Can't have you losing 1-0 every week.
He didn't have Spiritomb.
You gotta win for our conference.
He didn't have Spiritomb before.
I know you can do better. I know you can do better, Brady. So do better. You have Spiritomb now. Win games. Don't be like C9. Don't lose.
All right, my flamethrower is going out to David. I really like David. He's a great dude. He's very funny. He's good. He's actually a really good player, and he has been since he joined the league as an unknown, running a fucking mono dark team, which is badass. But David, upload your replays, man. You in the draft were complaining that they banned Libero Cinderace, and you had a game where you absolutely destroyed somebody with non-Libero Cinderace, and you didn't get the replay out there. It could be towards the top of the MVP standings. Come on, man. Do better.
I was thinking about saying that just for jokes. I think it's pretty funny that he actually. Yeah, what's going on?
We missed the utility
save
umbrella
our
switcheroo.
replays? Can we just like see our? I watch every match, so for every replay that's not saved, like even if I wasn't commissioning this league, even if I wasn't even administration, if I was just another player, I'd still be watching every single match because I just like the game and I like Mons and I like seeing what people are doing.
And I forgot to even mention, on top of the Cinderace thing, you don't want people to see your sick ass utility umbrella switcheroo onto Venusaur, man? Come on, David.
All right, and my flamethrower going out to Chris George, only 5-0 this week. What do you know? I'm kidding.
Seriously.
You don't want to mess with that, Trevor.
He'll come at me in full force. He'll be sitting in the lab from now until the time we play, thinking about what I said.
Take it from your conference leader. I beat Chris with Porygon Z, and I called him out because I beat him, and he came back in playoffs and 5-0'd me. So you don't want to call out Chris.
And he let you kill him on.
What?
Yeah.
He even showed you mercy in the face. He shoved his mercy down your throat, made you.
Why would we need to call out Tim? He knows exactly what he's doing. He took his entire team. He talked to me multiple times. He literally said, "I think this is the best team I've ever drafted. It just doesn't have weaknesses." And then he said to me later, he was like, "What do I do if I have no weaknesses?" I was like, "You win." He was like, "No, I can't switch my Pokemon now because it'll make my team worse. I have to just stay with the same team all season. I can't do that." And then he just absolutely tweaked out and got an Alolan Raichu team. Like, he knows what he's doing. There's nothing we can say that he isn't already aware of. Like, he's just gonna watch this VOD and he's gonna say, "Haha, losers Raichu," and just like type at us. And he's gonna say words, but it's gonna be really funny because he's gonna say a lot of words and somehow none of them are gonna mean anything at all. So yeah, somebody I want to call out, Justin. What are you doing, man? I was talking about you in the first episode. I said this man knows how to play the game, pretty well, and like you eked it out this week. I'll give you that. But it was not a perfectly played game. Tim may have already talked to you about it. We were talking about that game while it was happening. There were some not amazingly played turns in there. And going forward, I want to see more wins from you because this is not what I was expecting when I brought you in. I think you'll still make playoffs regardless, but I want to see you in the top of the records. I don't want to see you just scraping by on the very edge of the playoffs cutoff. So
come on, Justin.
With
it's
that,
your boy.
Just final closing thoughts. What's your parting shot for the week? Sam, you're our guest. You wanna go first on this?
I don't know. Clockwork. We gotta win. Gotta win some games.
Yeah, we're out 2 conferences, boys. Let's pick it up. Let's start getting some week wins in here.
We're keeping it close, but we gotta start picking up the victories.
Go ahead, Trev. Let's hear it. Clockwork back to back.
Clockwork back to back. All right. Well, I mean, Sam said it for the conference, so let me talk to everyone here. Just remember to have fun playing the game. It's not all about winning for everybody. I'm sure everyone here likes winning. It's fun to win, but just remember if you're taking losses and don't get too hard on yourself over that. Just if you have Pokemon you like playing, sometimes that's really all you got to be here for.
Hey, well, fuck all that have fun shit. We're here to win in the name of RNGesus crits. But just shout out to my conference. The atmosphere in the chat has been really positive. Feel free to help each other if I'm not around. It's unfortunate that we only had representatives from RNGesus and Clockwork here. I'm sorry to the other conferences who didn't get as much coverage. It's unfortunate that you're just not as important and just not making waves like we are. So our battle is the one that's being heard around the world, not Ram Ranch versus the Kingsmen. My apologies. Sam, if you're going to address your conference, I hope you do it with a little more bass in your voice, because that was not very inspiring at all.
Fair.
And I just want to say, may all of you receive the blessing of RNGesus. Do not turn your back on the cult, and expect the UCL track to be coming out probably early next week.
If Tim
I'm not exactly sure.
Discovers himself.
Yeah,
Finally.
Tim's looking for himself. That's why he couldn't be here tonight. He's actually driving cross country in search of himself. So,
and maybe his verse as well. I think he's looking for that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Kind of what you said. I said it when I released the signups. I said, may your hits be critical, may your focus blast connect. See you next season. So
yeah,
maybe it was all foreshadowing to Harry coming in and delivering the message.
Then you gotta say La Tome after.
All right, well, La Tome, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you around next week.
Good night, guys.
All right, we're off.